The Home Tech Podcast is supported by listeners like you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support.
This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, August 31st, 2018. From Denver, Colorado, I'm Jason Griffin.
From Sarasota, Florida, I am Seth Johnson.
Seth, how you doing?
Good. You ready
Packing
for
your
CEDIA,
bags?
Jason?
Yeah.
I'm not packed. I'm not ready. Not even close to being ready.
No.
Not at all. No. I was looking at my calendar, and this week was Monday, and it was empty, and now it is full. I don't know what I did. I don't know why I did it.
On Monday?
Why would I start filling up a calendar that was empty with
Well, not
things
to mention
do?
that it's Labor Day.
Well, no. I mean, filling it up for the next for CEDIA, for like going to the show and everything. So I don't mean like next Monday. I filled up that day. I filled up the entire week for appointments, and I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
Why would
you
I have done that?
overbooked yourself? It's a cardinal sin.
I think I'm going to come back and regret actually doing anything. Yeah, like this week. Why did I set up meetings? Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know why I did. There's really no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm excited to go out there. I, like you, Seth, do not feel quite ready. There's a whole lot of moving parts going on. I can tell you that the week leading up to CEDIA used to be a lot more relaxing for me when I was just an integrator and a podcast host, right?
Right.
And not to downplay the preparation that goes into it for integrators. You're certainly busy booking meetings and things, but I got to tell you, it's a whole different ball game when you're on the vendor side of the business, getting ready for CEDIA, getting your booth designed and laid out, and your PR strategy. And I'm teaching 3 workshops at CEDIA this year, and so things are busy, really, really busy. And I haven't had nearly as much time to really sit and get excited about CEDIA as I used to. But you know what? I'm excited all the same, and it's starting to sink in and get real now that this work week is slowly winding to a close, and next week we'll be out in San Diego. So I look forward to it, and we're going to spend our show here this week. We're going to skip over our normal quote unquote home tech headlines, right? And we're going to just talk all about CEDIA here this week and what we're excited to see, and mostly high level themes and things that get me excited on a personal level about CEDIA, and tee things up for next week and the week after, when we'll dive into hopefully some more specifics.
Yeah, and something that I'm pretty excited about, HomeTech Happy Hour, Jason. Have you seen the numbers
Indeed.
on this? I think
Indeed.
we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Yeah, it looks like a great turnout.
Yeah, I think we're going to pack this place. So if everybody ends up showing up, and I know there's going to be some people that haven't gone to HomeTech.fm/happy hour and told us that you were coming. I know there's going to be a couple more. I think we're going to easily double what we did last year, which means that place is going to be full, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about that earlier this week, and I'm amazed, flattered, honestly, that many people would want to come hang out with us at the happy hour. It should be a really good time, and like you said, I think we're probably going to double the number of people that we had there last year, and so that's great, fantastic. News, and we'll talk. I think, Seth, we want to save a little more detail on that for later in the show, or did you want to?
I think we need to talk about it now, because we usually save for it later in the show, and I think people start tuning out by then. But if you're coming to the HomeTech Happy Hour, go to HomeTech.fm/happy hour to find out where it is, what time it is, and to sign up and let us know you're coming. And we'd very much appreciate to know, just to get a good head count. This is the last call, guys. This is it.
Yeah.
Let us know that you're coming. And that way, we'll be able to better, work with the facilities there at the Field Irish Pub and Restaurant, and make sure that we've got the right space for the right amount of people. But I also do want to thank our host this year. We got a big time. We got a host from Chow Mein Software and Apps, and Alan reached out to me like way back, right before we actually opened up the sponsorship, and said, hey, I want to sponsor the whole thing. So if you see Alan there, definitely thank him, but head on over to chowmeinsoft.com. The link is there at HomeTech.fm/happy hour as well. If you don't know about Chow Mein, they develop drivers for Control Fork, Crestron, Elan, RTI, QSys, and URC. They do it for dealers. They do it for manufacturers. So check out what he's got there. And if he's probably, if you work in any one of those systems, he's probably got some software for you that you'll find useful. So check it out.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So once again, Thursday, September 6th, 5:30 p.m. at the field. And if you are planning to join us, head on over to HomeTech.fm/happy hour so that we've got an accurate head count. We would really appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing everybody out in San Diego. With that said, Seth, what do you say we jump into our high-level breakdown here of CEDIA and what we're getting excited about?
Wait, we're not going to go like individual booth numbers and talk about what we want to see.
No, I suggested that. but you shot me down, Seth.
Yeah.
No. Editing is hard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How many booths? Hundreds of booths? Yeah, no, definitely not. It's tough, like going into CEDIA and trying to really zero in on what the individual companies are that you're excited to see is certainly something that, again, going back to my recent history as an integrator, I did more of that because I knew I had my certain vendors and key people like that I needed to see, and that formed kind of the foundation of the list. And then, from there, it was the fun stuff that you just want to go check out. And so for me, going into the show, I don't pay quite as much attention to the individual vendors, obviously, other than One Vision, where I work, and very busy getting things lined up there. But I can tell you there are a whole bunch of different themes and overall categories that I'm excited to go check out this year, as always.
Yeah, I was just looking at the count on my spreadsheet here. There are 450 different companies. It doesn't necessarily mean... I guess there's 450 different booths, but that doesn't necessarily mean 450 different companies, because sometimes the same company will have 2 or 3 booths. But man, that it seems like to me that it's going to be a pretty good show this year, pretty big show, around like home technology and home and the business that CEDIA, the CEDIA integration market supports too, which is kind of nice to see. I'm seeing a lot of really cool things with software and that kind of thing show up too. So I guess let's go ahead and dive into that, Jason. What do you want? What should we talk about first?
Yeah, I think a perfect way to kick this off, actually, we've got a handful of folks joining us in the live chat room tonight. We appreciate you gentlemen being here with us. It's always a lot of fun to have. And Chris Gamble is in there and just mentioned Logitech, first-time exhibitors at CEDIA this year. And I think that tees up perfectly one of the themes that, this is not a new theme. We've talked about it in probably all of the CEDIAs that we've covered in our 4 years of doing the show, is that DIY Pro Convergence or crossover, right? And the lines blurring between what is a consumer or DIY product and what is a pro product. And as in years past, that's going to be one of the big things that I'm looking forward to taking a look at. So Logitech being there, that's really interesting. I thank you, Chris, for pointing that out. To be honest, I hadn't caught that, so that wasn't on my radar. And I'll be curious to see what they are showing off at the show. I know the Neo remote, very popular remote, I think amongst our audience and the DIY crowd in general. They've got a Neo Pro program that they're going to be unveiling that we've seen, I think, in the past weeks. They've got the website up with kind of the coming soon verbiage, and so they're generating a little bit of excitement there. And I'm curious to know what that entails. I know that Raf, the founder of the company, is a former integrator. That's one of my favorite parts about their backstory, is that he comes from the pro side. And so I think as a company, they've got a fairly good understanding of what the pro needs. And so I'll be interested to see what that pro program entails. And I think that's always a challenge for products that are at that $300-$400 price point. I forget exactly what Neo is. Pros want a lot of things, and the reality is margin is one of them, right? And so when you've got a product that's at a lower price point like that, it's always the challenge, I think, is to come up with interesting strategies that can make it enticing for dealers to jump into that program.
Right. I'm genuinely curious. I know for a fact they were trying to set up, early on they wanted to set up the sales through distribution too. So I don't know. I'm genuinely curious as to what this program is going to be. So I can't wait to swing by that booth and talk to them. Looks like they have a decent size one. They're going to be an innovation alley. So that should be fun to go check out, kind of all the way in the back. So it's usually my first stop and my last stop too, because I like to check out what is exciting there, and then see the crowds that are in that area, what people are checking out and liking, and then I like to kind of go back and follow up with the people that are running the booths there on the last day and see how the show went for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just again looking over the chat room here very quickly, and we'll move on, but perhaps we can include a link if Chris sends it over. It looks like Logitech is doing a panel. So JJ Cannon, who we've had on the show, Chris Gamble, who's been on the show, and a couple others. CEO of Tech Dad, Jamie Prop. I'm not familiar with Jamie, but sounds like an interesting company. So it's kind of the focus on the DIFM or Do It For Me model, and be interested to learn more about that panel and share that with the audience if anyone is interested in that.
We'll put a link in our show notes, which will be over at HomeTech.fm/224.
Yep, absolutely.
There we go. Nice big file just came through, so cool. We'll definitely have that in there. DIY Pro Convergence. A number of products showed up this year. Ring is kind of at the top of that list, right? Because not recently, but like a couple of months back, they were bought by Amazon.
Yep.
They're kind of like the big, huge DIY product that has been showing up for the last couple of years, and I know a lot of integrators that actually use them. But they have a security system that has been over the last couple of years slowly and painfully rolling out, and now it's here. Now they have a security system that is inexpensive. It doesn't, it's a okay looking product, but it's a $300 security system. So, kind of what you pay for. And they have like a security monitoring that goes along with it that's like super inexpensive. I want to say $100 a year. So $6 a month, that's incredibly low compared to what integrators who are going to this show have been able to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Ring, DIY security in general is a huge topic in the industry right now, and so I'll be curious to see what other vendors and solutions are being shown there, and I think as a broad theme, it is one of the big ones. I think it also makes me think of a bit of a tangent. We'll get into the big players in control, like the Control 4s of the world, but one of the things I'm interested to stop by the Control 4 booth and see if I can. I'm assuming Charlie Kindle will be hanging around, former head of Smart Home for Alexa, who was just hired by Control 4.
You think he'll just be hanging out and shaking hands? And I think they're going to keep him locked away and let.
I don't know. No, I believe he will. I'm not sure. Time will tell. But again, I think it just speaks to that whole seeing him come over and there's a lot of promise in the professional channel. I firmly believe that. I don't think that DIY and the Pro channel are nearly as at odds as some people make it sound, and I think there's that convergence that we've been seeing for years is continuing to happen, and it'll. Right. I predict it'll be one of my big things that I observe coming out of the show as well.
Very cool. So, what else do we have here in the DIY convergence area? We have Nice Group with Fabaro and Abode coming in as well. They are that's the kind of the ZWave side of things. I don't get too involved with them, but this Abode, is it Nice Group or Abode? I can't remember. One of these companies, one of the three companies, Nice, Fabaro, Abode, bought all of these guys, and now they have like this giant group of companies that will be there at the show showing off their wares, and it should be interesting because I think as they've done this, I think they have more of like a compelling story of products to put together, not just like a bunch of, hey, we've got all these accessories, that's great and everything. But I think now it's starting to like line up and look like a compelling offering from these guys.
Right. Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few companies, and I think the ZWave Pavilion is always an area where you see a lot of those solutions that tend to bridge that gap as well, right, between DIY and Pro, and so I'll be certainly in what limited time I'll probably have to spend on the floor. Greg Scott in the chat room is reminding me it's Zed. I can't do it. ZWave. It just doesn't work for me.
We'll start saying H's as H's for our friends over the pond.
Anyways, so yeah, that's that. Certainly more to come on that as we're gonna. I think Seth tried to do a show live from CEDIA at some point. We're not sure exactly when that may happen, and live being a loose term, I don't know that we'll actually be live, but at least on site, do a recording, and we'll talk more about that at that time. But let's move on. We've got several other categories we want to touch on, and again, keeping it at a little bit of a high level. One of the things that I always look forward to personally, and this will be for the pros in the audience, right, is those business improvements. And I think we've seen really the industry mature over recent years, and again, not a totally new trend. This is something that's always happening at CEDIA. But, the amount of software companies that have popped up in recent years to help home technology professionals run more efficient businesses is always a trend that I enjoy watching and seeing how those companies are doing. One of the actual newcomers here that I think is a story that could have easily slipped under the radar, and one that I think is actually kind of cool, is this new construction monitor app. Did you hear about this, Seth?
Yeah, I came across this. This is pretty cool. It monitors it uses known data, right, and monitors permits. Or is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So what's really interesting to me about this one is we used to have at one of the integration companies I worked at, we had a sort of a home baked solution that was based off of construction monitor data, and I don't know if they're just here in the U.S. or North America or international, but I can tell you here in the U.S. they are the biggest resource, at least that I know of, for construction permits. And so what they've come out with now is a new app where you can actually map those out and apply filters. So if you want to see all of the activity of homes being built in your zip code that are valued, at over $500,000 or something, I assume they have these sort of filters in there. I know they have that data. So pretty neat. We used to do this with Google Maps and pulling CSVs and kind of manually cobbling things together. And if you're really into the guerrilla marketing and getting out there and pounding the pavement, it's a very effective way. I can tell you that when I was doing sales, I landed several very big projects by doing that. It's a numbers game, but you've got to get out there and shake hands. And it's if you can connect with an architect or a designer or a builder face to face on a job site, it's just infinitely better than a cold call or a cold email. And so I thought that was kind of cool. It's one little app, obviously, but I expect to see several more, probably maybe even dozens more of these little point solutions or apps or robust software solutions that can really help integrators run better businesses.
Yeah, and that's for the sales side, like the top part of the funnel. But there's another one I ran across. I think they're over in Innovation Alley too, so that's why I ran across them, called HouseCall Pro. And you can go to their website. Basically, there's an annoying little pop-up that comes up over their website that you can't actually close. Oh, there's the button to close it. But it's actually like the kind of like the rest of the business, kind of all inside of an app. You can schedule dispatch, estimate, invoice, process payments, get booked online, and communicate with your customers. I mean, it's like an all-in-one thing, and I don't think it's exactly made for like the integration market. Like it looks like it's made for service companies in general, but it looks like a clean type of product and can be kind of wedged into the business that you use. I was testing these out like I don't know, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, just going out and trying to get these types of products built into the business that we were running. And I can tell you, just going from like nothing and using a whiteboard or a Trello board or something like that to something like this is like night and day. And so if this works and it works well, even with smaller companies, I think it could do a major improvement for the operations. And it doesn't look that expensive. Like 1 to 6 users is $109 or $140, and it looks like their unlimited users is only $250 a month. So like for any size business, I think the pricing is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Pay by text. Have you ever heard of that?
Pay by text?
Yeah, I've never heard of that one. Evidently, you can get paid by text messages now.
Maybe using that term loosely. That's funny. Yep. So anyways, there's sure to be a lot of those. Somebody in the chat room right now, I'm assuming this is Jason Griffith, who's a supporter of the show and now goes by the name Not Griffing, to avoid confusion, but who knows? We've got him in IRC, pointing out the D-Tools Cloud product. And I'll be interested to take a look at that. That's a big step up for D-Tools, I think. I used it for years, and I know having to host it on a local server or find another company to host it on one of their servers was always a bit of a pain. And so that's pretty cool. I'll hopefully have a chance to go check that out. And like I said, I'm always just kind of sniffing around and looking for those neat solutions that can help people run better businesses. I'm a business geek. I'm a process geek. I really, really enjoy stuff like that. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled. And if anybody knows of any other things I should be checking out, definitely let us know. Feedback at HomeTech.fm.
There's a couple of different new business opportunities that we kind of ran across when we were kind of going through these booths, and home health was one of them. This is kind of the one I kind of have to say tongue in cheek, like this is the next business, right? This is the one that's gonna like take off. But I have seen maybe one or two of these companies each year at CEDIA, and I think that we're gonna see a couple more of them this year. So I will kind of go by those booths and check them out and see what they have to offer. One of them is a company called Blue Wave or something like that, and they offer those shocking like pain relief things where you get shocked. But the other one's
interesting. They're going to be at CEDIA, huh?
Yeah. The other one's a telehealth like company. So like where you'd actually sit up and monitoring and be able to monitor and tell what people's health is. Away as you're away. So like that's more in line, when we think home health technology, that's what we think of, not these shock massager things that this other company showing up with.
Yeah, I don't think this is the quote unquote breakout year for home health. I don't know that there's ever going to be a breakout year for home health. I think it may be something we continue to see potentially more and more of, and slowly but surely we're sort of in that space as an industry. I don't know. I'm very intrigued by it. We've talked about it on shows in the past. I think it's the demographics make it a very attractive market, and also the fact that if you're in business to help people, there are some real opportunities there to create businesses that help people live better lives and help people in our generation who don't necessarily have to worry about that themselves, but perhaps have parents or other loved ones that do need these sort of solutions to provide home health, whether you're maybe aging in place or just ways to live healthier lives in our homes through cleaner air or water or light. Lighting is now a thing where people actually talk about it in that context. And so intriguing possibilities, to be sure. I looked, and I'm not sure how many people listening to the show are familiar with this system, Darwin by Delos, I think the Darwin Premier. And I know I've heard about it through the buying groups. I think they're doing something perhaps with HTSA. I think HTSA is trying to look at home health and figure out what a play might be there. They are not going to be at CEDIA, so just wanted to mention them. If anyone's curious I think they're worth taking a look at if you're curious of how people are well-funded companies are looking at the potential future there. I have no idea how they'll do. I don't know a lot about their technology, but I do know that they're making innuendos at the channel, and they've got a very unique way that they're looking at the market. So home health is interesting. I think lighting is one that tangentially that plays into a little bit. I mentioned it. We're hearing more and more about tunable white lighting, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I have talked about it on the show before. Here in my home office, I've got lights that are, I think, around 3,500 Kelvin, and I'm not crazy about even that blue on the spectrum. Like, I definitely prefer the more 2,500, warmer colors, but the reason I have these is a very real reason. I'm in this home office all day long, and I found that having lights that were that 2,500 Kelvin made me very tired when I'm trying to work a full day at my office. And so there are very real experiences you can feel with different kinds of lighting. And so I have these brighter lights to keep me a little bit more energized. But man, if I had some a relatively inexpensive and simple way down here to have lights that sort of changed color throughout the day, totally into that. And I think more and more people are becoming aware of those effects that different color temperatures can have on your mood and energy levels.
Right. Yeah. And there's a couple of different companies. Ketra, we saw them last year. They were at the show. They were purchased over this past year by Lutron. So I'll be very interested to see what they're doing with that. This like Phillips Hue, right? Like that's kind of the company you think of when it comes to changing lights. I don't think, that Phillips obviously isn't showing up to the show, but it's something to keep in mind. Like they do make quite a number of products that you can put in. But to me, like even like Ketra and all that, like it almost feels like a toy at some point, like until you start using it in a professional manner. Like if you're using it to add, like what you were saying, if you're using it to add into making the lights, the correct temperature for the time of day, that may affect your health, or you're using it in like an architectural sense where, say you're at a bar or something and you want to have, purple lights over there and green lights over here and accenting the wall. That's a whole different thing, right? So I'm interested to see. I know there's a bunch of these companies that have come out, and I'm interested to see kind of where that goes this year.
Yeah. I think lighting in general is a big one. There are, of course, a lot of conversations going on right now around lighting fixtures, and is that a business that the CEDIA integrator should be getting into? Certainly, there are opportunities there, but I don't know how. I have no real sense for how much that's penetrating into the market in terms of CEDIA integrators adopting it. And I know that when we look, what's that?
Well, let's say one of them I was looking at was the last couple of years have been the fixtures that are low voltage, and I know we've talked about these like LumaStream and different companies. Like they're. It seems like to me like that's something that integrators could go out and install, but I don't know if there's an issue with like codes and that kind of thing that integrator like that. Is that a hurdle? Like, is there a legal hurdle that integrators would have breaking into that market using low voltage lighting? Because it seems like that's pretty popular overseas. It seems like it's kind of popular in commercial here. I'm just wondering when it's going to break into residential.
Yeah, I have my doubts about low voltage lighting in residential. I think it's such a big leap that, like, if I were building a home and you told me, don't pull electrical, just do low voltage and we'll run all of your lighting over Cat 5, I wouldn't want to do it. I would want to see that technology proven out. And so I don't know, maybe the early adopters out there are starting to do it. I don't know. Conceptually, again, I think it's one of these things that looks attractive on paper. I think there are companies out there that are doing cool things and trying to push that technology forward, and the market will decide how they do. But I think if it were up to me and I were building a home, I'd be sticking with 110.
It's too much of a risk.
220, right? I guess overseas. If you're, it's like it just feels so proprietary at this point, and if something happened to that company, like there's not, I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a fair amount of options out there, but no, not for me.
Right.
I think one cool product that I saw that's not stepping away from fixtures, but talking about lighting, and Julie Jacobson was talking about this company on her CEDIA preview webinar today, Noon Home Pro.
Yeah.
And
the Switch thing.
I'm not sure like how I haven't taken a lot of time to look into the company or what their background is, but this bold claim off their website here: one switch, universal dimmer, seriously smart, works with any fixture, residential LED, incandescent, halogen, fluorescent, CFL, MLV, and ELV. So I know certainly like Lutron has their universal types of dimmers that work with, I think, everything on that list. I'm actually not the best with that. Maybe you can correct me there, Seth. So anyways, the idea of like a universal and flexible dimmer isn't totally new, but these guys appear to be more of a consumer focused brand. So I don't know. I thought it sounded interesting on the surface, at least.
Yeah, the Surface is a good word for it, because I mean, just looking at it, it doesn't look. I don't know. It's like an all-in-one product. I think this is the one, if I'm thinking correctly. It's got like these weird little dimmer things next to it, but it also has like a touch screen kind of accompanying the dimmer, and it's got to be installed at the same time. Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like if you're thinking that wiring your house for low voltage is a leap, I think that this is even bigger of a leap.
Oh yeah,
because you're not only changing like the look and feel of a light switch, you know, rather than just the speakers and the fixtures and the wiring, you're putting a touchscreen in like at this light switch level, and that touchscreen. I mean, I have a couple of touchscreens sitting next to me that were made by Apple a couple of years ago, and they were great. And now I look at the touchscreen on my new phone, and it's like blows those out of the water, and I never want to look at those other touchscreens again. So like, how is that going to look in 10 years? Is it going to work in 10 years? I don't know. It's just, that almost seems like a bigger leap to me than doing low voltage lighting.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree, but I mean, I get what you're saying. Definitely want to check these guys out, though. I mean, it's a sexy looking product. They've got a beautiful website. $249 for the Room Director is what it's called. That's the one that's got like the touch screen on it. And then extension switches are $129. So they are not cheap. But, you know, in the realm of lighting control, those aren't outrageous prices either. A room bundle here with 3 light switches, and it looks like the controller as well, $529. So, you know, not a small amount of money, but not astronomical either. And interesting looking product. I definitely am hoping to find some time to go check them out. All right, we're back. We're back. We had some technical difficulties there, so you're not going to necessarily hear those in the final product here. But we are back after a short break and a very loud feedback loop. Thank you for that, Seth.
I do what I can, you know. If I'm going to break something, I make damn sure it's broken.
All right. Well, anyways, let's move on. Let's wrap up this new business opportunities section here. One of the trends that we're talking about for CEDIA 2018, and I think one that I've got to mention, and I know this is going to come across as a little self-serving, and I'm okay with that, but it is service. You know, working at OneVision, we live and breathe and think about service all the time, and I do think that with a lot of the things that we're working on at OneVision and the progress that we see being made across our partner network and that network growing, we're very excited about service opportunities and just the potential for more home technology professionals to make service a more profitable part of their business. And I expect we'll see, other companies talking about it this year. I know we at OneVision have some enhancements to our RMR strategies that we're going to be talking about, including a network security offering that our partners will be able to start offering pretty soon, and some other tweaks to the offering, including like higher level concierge services and things of that nature. And so we're living and breathing that stuff and seeing a lot of success there. And I think that is not necessarily unique to us. I think service is a trend that people in the industry are all thinking about and looking at. And we are doing, I've mentioned a couple of times, 3 workshops, Serviceology workshops. So anybody interested in learning about strategies there can go check those out. Just search Serviceology on the CEDIA site. We'd love to have you. And yeah, I'll be curious to see what other companies are doing to push the ball forward there. And I just firmly believe that effective service strategies are really vital to the future of the CEDIA industry.
Yeah, absolutely. They are the future of the entire business, right? Because it's not like we can go on and completely ignore the creeping in of the DIY market and taking over of like the entire control domains. I mean, voice control is here. It's now. Like, it works way better than anything that the custom install industry came up with. And we're having to integrate those products at no margin into our products that we work with every day. So service is definitely going to be a huge, huge part of the future business. So very cool. Serviceology, you said? Serviceology.
Serviceology, that's right. So go check that out, and definitely stop by the One Vision booth. That is where I will definitely be spending the majority of my time during the days, hoping to get a little bit of time later in the week to go check out the floor myself. But if you want to come say hi, that is absolutely where you will find me. And I think the last category that going into the show, at least I'm thinking about, and certainly we'll discover more while we're there, but again, hats off here to Julie and her webinar, the CE Pro webinar. I didn't realize how many water leak detection systems and shutoff systems are going to be at CEDIA this year. So we had Flo on our show a few weeks ago, had a great time chatting with them and learning about their very sophisticated system. It goes way beyond just sensors that, detect water in your home and send you an alert. These are systems that can shut off the water in the event of a leak automatically, and Flo also does a lot of cool proactive monitoring of water pressure and things of that nature to prevent those catastrophic issues before they happen. Some of the other companies listed as attending are Streamlabs, Pipeburst Pro, LeakSmart, Alexa, ELEXA, Guardian. I guess this is a ZWave product.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
Not confusing.
And GRI Water Shutoff. So I think this is a cool category. I mean, I'm looking to implement this in my own home. I am a little bit curious to see how these work. I know at the very least that Flo pretty much strongly recommends, if not requires, like a certified plumber. Unless you're good at cutting and soldering pipe and stuff, like Flo is not a product that, certainly not a DIY product, and not even a product that most integrators would look to install themselves. So I don't know what exactly the play is for some of these companies, unless some of them are a little bit easier to install, other than building awareness amongst the technology professionals, because the CEDIA integrator is kind of becoming the technology architect of the home, right? And has influence on getting some of these systems into the house. So there could be some interesting possibilities for partnerships there.
Yeah, I am kind of in the same boat. I wonder how this gets installed. Like they're clearly going and marketing towards integrators at this particular show. If not for just, the brand recognition or the name recognition, or at least letting dealers know that this type of product exists, so maybe that they get mentioned. But I worked with guys that were scared to touch a thermostat, and they wouldn't take that off the wall and swap out a couple wires. And I can't imagine, like, oh yeah, just take your hacksaw to that pipe right there, and we'll install this flow meter thing. And no, I think that most integrators would definitely punt that over to a licensed plumber to have done.
Right.
But I wonder what the play is. I'm very curious to see how this plays out here.
I do think some of them, there was some conversation on the CE Pro webinar that some of them do install more simply, like depending on the kind of valve you've got in place. I agree with what Chris Gamble is saying in the chat room. Like, these sort of practical technology applications are really clear value prop to homeowners. I just don't know logistically how some of these would work. I can tell you as an integrator, I would be not so much scared to like shut off the main water and cut the pipe and put the thing on. What I would be scared of is spending the next 6 months worried that I hadn't properly soldered the pipe on and that it was going to burst at some point, and I'd get the call that I had been responsible for flooding an entire basement.
Do you have the insurance for this? Is this covered on our workman's comp or whatever it is?
Yeah. So if you're going to get into this, doing it as a professional, get whatever license insurance that you need to make sure that you're covered. But beyond that, I mean, I think there's a value prop there. It's figuring out, what exactly the value chain looks like there.
Right. I think it's a great product. All of them, any one of them that you can get, it's definitely a great product to have. Voice control, we're kind of seeing the same players show up. Josh AI is going to be there with their new and improved and working Josh Mini. Lots of
Micro, is it Mini?
Micro, yeah, Josh Micro, that's what it was.
Yeah.
You have in quotes Echo Inside, and I assume that's from Julie's. I think I saw her tweet about that. There's a lot of products that have the Amazon Echo Dot. I guess
there's
built into, like, it's not the product itself, but they like, hey, wedge this round thing into this hole and it'll be a product, right?
Well, so some of them do that, like Origin Acoustics has their system where you can ceiling mount a dot, and I think it's kind of clever. I know you and I have sort of differing opinions. I see you shaking your head right now. But there's some weird things that I was trying to grasp, like Polk, I guess, has an audio command bar that has Echo inside, which I think it's just the technology built in. But for some reason, it's actually built to where it looks like a little Echo Dot in the middle, and I thought it was an Echo Dot. Turns out I don't think it actually is. It's just built to look like that for whatever reason. So some of these are technologies where they're literally taking an Echo Dot and like, here's a way to put an Echo Dot in your wall if you're into that sort of thing, right? And others are just Echo being built inside or Alexa being built inside. And so I think we'll see some of each of that. And I know that for Amazon, having Alexa built into lots of different technologies and different products is a big push for them. And so certainly we'll see lots of that, and we'll hear a lot about integrations and Google Home integrations, and you're going to hear all about that this year. And so voice control will be a big thing. I do know that Josh is going to be doing some demos on the floor, and apparently they haven't really done this before, and I'm not sure exactly why, if it was just concerns over the network speeds not being good enough. Like, that would definitely concern me if I was Josh. It's like, network on the show floor is notoriously terrible, right? And no matter how much you have a sympathetic audience there with integrators, if you're trying to demo a voice control product and it just doesn't work, that's not good. And even if it is the network's fault. But apparently they're doing some demos this year, I think, in like other manufacturers' areas. So Rava, I believe, and Lutron. So booths that probably have like sealed off areas that are a little more quiet. Right. And so, but hopefully you have a chance to see that. I admittedly haven't had a chance to really sit and see Josh in action. I've seen a bunch of their videos and know what they're capable of, but be cool to catch up with those guys out there.
Yeah. The one thing Chris Gamble pointed out earlier in our show is that there's no Amazon presence at the show this year. There's no big fart chamber booth set up, so that you can't go in there and smell the must of 20 other integrators as you're talking to the lady in the tube. So I'm curious as to why that's happened. Maybe because they've kind of like made their point and put their stake in the ground, and they've got their product showing up in products that we sell. But I'm curious to see also what happens to like the other companies that are out there, the other big ones like Google and Apple. We know that this may get touched on later, but we know that Apple announced a Control4 tie-in and Crestron tie-in, and Savant tie-in at their keynote. So maybe something like that comes up. And then of course you got Google Home sitting over there, and what is it going to do? To separate itself from the pack? So Amazon still kind of it still is the big one to kind of beat, but I think they're definitely making it easy to integrate their products, but I don't think that they're is it because they're everywhere that they're going to be successful, or is it because it's a good product? And I think right now it's because they're everywhere that they're successful.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be a trend to keep watching for sure. One that I'm curious to see is Bixby. I don't know if Bixby's going to be
You're not
floor.
Excited to see
I am. And you know why? Because it's taken them so damn long to get that to market that I just have to see it. Like, I have to see Bixby to the extent that you can see a virtual assistant, I suppose. But they announced a few weeks ago that they've got their it's a Harman Kardon product. And so I have to imagine that it'll be there on the floor. And if it is, I'll be curious to see it.
All right.
Take a picture. Bixby sighting.
We're gonna hashtag Bixby Hunt, and we're gonna go find this thing.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Hi, Bixby.
Moving on from there, no conversation about CEDIA is complete without touching on some audio video stuff. That is obviously the bread and butter for many, many people at the show and many companies at the show. And I'm going to start out here, Seth, with your absolute favorite. I think they're going to make a huge splash at CEDIA this year. Sonos.
Oh, yeah.
I teed that up because I know how you actually feel about it.
Geez. I mean, at this point, the only thing they could do is show up with some more cardboard and lean it against the chair like they did last year. So I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious to see what they bring for a booth. It's not like I looked at the floor plan. It's not a huge booth that they're going to have there. It's kind of like their normal size. So we'll be interested to see what they have to show and offer at the show. I know they're doing offsite stuff too this year. So I wonder what's if they're not going to show anything on the floor again like that. That was just embarrassing. Hopefully they don't do that again.
They certainly didn't set the bar very high last year, did they?
No, they stole all the plywood that I needed to board up my windows for the hurricane. So
they literally, if you're listening and don't know, they had a booth that was like right in the center, right when you walk in, front and center, very prime location. And literally it was like the fake wood floor or whatever. And I think like a really flimsy kind of Sonos backdrop. And then like cardboard signs that gave directions to an offsite where they were showing their technology. And that was it. There was literally nothing.
They could have hired a homeless guy to walk around with one of those things that, those things and just walk back and forth in that area. And had the same amount of effective marketing for their product. But hey, they're getting a little ahead of the game this week. Today they announced the Sonance, because it's hard to say. Today they announced the Sonos Amp. Now this may sound familiar, and that's because it is. It's a new amplifier that will be replacing the Connect amp. Delivers 125 watts per channel, has HDMI ARC for getting audio back from a TV, an RCA line input, subwoofer output, kind of the same thing. Will support Apple AirPlay 2, yay, and a $599 price tag, which is unfortunately $100 more than the current Connect amp. Professional installers will have access to the amps in the US and Canada starting on December 1st, and I saw that it's going across the marketplace in February of next year. So looks like they're given maybe a month or two before they start shipping out to all the big box stores like Best Buy and everything and getting that inventory in place. Yeah. This press tour that they did with this thing today was just, I don't know. Face palming, is that a word? Can I invent a word?
It's a word.
This company, I love Sonos. I love the gear that they have. I did a whole hour show where I just rambled on and on about Sonos and how to hook it up and what to buy one time. But the culture of the company is just so strange to me. Like, I don't know. Some of the quotes they have in these articles, when you're walking around a store or a hotel and there's music on, but you don't have to see the source or think about where the sound is coming from. We want to be able to bring that experience into people's homes.
Wow. Profound.
Yeah, profound. And then my favorite, like this is, they're saying this is going to be a rack mount product, right? So like they have designed it to be about 2.5 inches tall, which is more than one RU, but it's going to step into 2 RUs. And they showed a bunch of interesting rack mounted, like with the nice middle Atlantic RSH shelving, laser cut shelving where they put it in there. I don't know, Jason. I put a couple of pictures in the show notes here if you can see.
Yeah,
it. Looks good from the front.
I see it. Yeah,
and
the front.
Yeah, from the front. If you look on the back, Greg in our chat room has determined that there's cardboard propping them up in the back, which is totally custom, I guess. I don't know. Like I think it was a good effort, and I'm glad that they're doing something with the product line that they haven't touched in 10 years. But I don't know. I may have expected a little more.
But this quote, I mean, did you get to this quote yet?
The rack quote?
Yeah.
What became completely apparent is that the rack is the representation of the craft. It's not just 4 metal uprights with some shelves and some panels around it. No. It's an outward expression of the craftsmanship of the integrator. Let that sink in.
the intent was good.
Yeah, I suppose. Like I don't know. Like this is the drooling and slobbering that went on over this product launch today was just unbearable, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they updated the product, but man, like the CE Pro article and what is the one I'm on, Technology Integrator article were just like, why am I reading this? This is silly. They could have done this in 3 lines, and the only reason it's taken getting this much press is because it's taken up 10 years to update a product that should have been updated 5 years ago.
Yeah, tell us how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I got more. I mean, there's
all right. I walked right into that one. You know, it's one of the parts of this announcement though that I was curious about. And I'm still scratching my head a little bit. There was this Sonance, and you tripped on this a little bit. It might have been a Freudian slip when you teed up the story, because part of the story is some sort of a partnership here with Sonance, and it says they're partnering with Sonance to build ceiling, in-wall, and outdoor speakers. I don't know exactly what that means. Like they're not going to actually be like powered speakers that you put in the wall that Sonance builds, obviously. The only thing I was able to find that was specific was that it said, when paired with the amp, each Sonance speaker will be able to take advantage of the Sonos TruePlay tuning software to analyze a room's acoustics and adjust their woofers and tweeters for optimal sound. Kind of interesting. I'm not sure if the partnership goes deeper than that, but anyways, they're thinking about in walls and in ceilings and outdoor speakers, but this is the closest I think that we're going to get to the long rumored Sonos outdoor speaker.
Yeah, right. Yeah, people are hooking up speakers to our products. Imagine that. Yeah. I think what this means, this like partnership that they're coming up with. I don't know that like they're going to have a Sonance speaker. That'd be kind of weird to even sell or say. But having the TruePlay, like you were saying, the TruePlay tuning, that's where you walk around and you can tune the room to the Sonos gear. I bet what they're doing is they're going to go into a lab somewhere and hook up some Sonance speakers and analyze them and say, okay, these are the tones that come out in a flat environment. And then what we want to do is apply our EQ mold to that and then put that into your house, into your room, so that when you're in your room with your Sonance speakers that are matched to the profile that you'll be putting in, Sonos will be able to tune up the room and do that. And I think that's a great feature to have. Like that's a really great, awesome feature. I doubt it'll be only limited to Sonance. Maybe that's what they're going to use it first. But I think like you could probably go out and find speakers that are equally the same as Sonance speakers and get them TruePlay tuned using the same technology. Right. I don't see there's any reason why that wouldn't work. Maybe a little bit of the EQ would be off, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's cool as well. So Sonance makes great speakers. They're a great company, and so I think it's cool to see those two partnered up. I'll be on the lookout to see if we can get more information about that while we're out in San Diego.
Yeah, and another thing that they teased up with their let's be the pretty girl that talks to the integrators today talk is the API. They mentioned that they would be releasing an API on September 6th, right in the middle of CEDIA. And it's all well and good up until the point where you read that search is actually not going to be improved in the API or offered in the API at all, which I think is like the biggest complaint that most dealers have. We just want what we used to have the ability to basically search and find new music on our control systems and go from there. But they're touting this Sonos new Sonos API, that it's a whole developer program around it with documentation, SDKs, sample apps to toy around with, knowledge base, and developer community. So I went and signed up for it. I can't wait to see what it looks like, and we'll see what happens. Come September 6th, it could be Sonos just teasing us again. As they have.
Time will tell. So. Seth, you good? You good with Sonos? You need more time to vent?
Well, I do have a couple more things about some of the articles that were written, but I'm just going to let them go. And we're gonna keep going.
Yeah, we've got more stuff to cover here, and we're going a bit long. So, TV technology is something that I definitely get excited about and geek out on a little bit. I heard of micro LED technology going to be there. I think a company called Opus was sort of known for it, and I have to confess I was not familiar with this technology. From what I could glean prepping for the show here tonight, it's been a little more common in commercial displays perhaps, but it is starting to make its way more into residential as a potential competitor to OLED. So OLED, right, as you may know, as listeners to the show may know, is very attractive for its emissive, right? Which means the pixels themselves produce the light, which means they can shut those pixels off and produce very dark black levels. But it is still relatively expensive compared to LED technology. And supposedly this micro LED technology is able to compete with those black levels, but do it at a more do it in a more economical fashion. And so I'm not sure, other than I think I heard Opus was a company that was going to be there showing this, and there's talk of potentially other companies getting into it. I can't remember if it was LG or who it was. I don't think it was LG, but anyways, one or two of the big manufacturers. And so that's a technology that I definitely want to learn more about this year. Like I said, I wasn't familiar with it before getting prepped for this show, and so I want to take advantage of being out at CEDIA to see what I can sniff out and learn. I'm always curious about new display technology.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that's been around maybe in the commercial market for a while, and it's filtering its way down. For whatever reason, this reminds me, and I think the micro LED is what Samsung was touting at CES this year with the wall thing that they made, that with big long display.
That's right.
So I think that the commercial stuff definitely does finally come down to the residential, and that may be what we may be getting a glimpse of. Like, this is the future of this. I got to tell you, I've been to Costco the last couple of days, and when you walk in, they've got that QLED, Samsung QLED,
yep.
Is it? That was it? And then the LG OLED, like right behind it. So like when you walk in the door, you're looking right at the QLED. You're looking at, man, both of those TVs, they look absolutely gorgeous. Like I don't think you could go wrong with either one of them. But like you were saying, it's the economics of getting those price points down that's really going to make this technology fly off. You fly off to be in my house.
Yeah.
But that's going to take a while. But this is the bleeding edge, right? So this is what we go to the show for, is to see these fancy new technologies that may not be here, but for the next couple of years.
Yep. Speaking of technologies, CEDIA is always a great opportunity to get educated on technologies like HDR. There are several flavors of HDR out there, and understanding the differences and which TVs support which protocols, I guess you could call them, or standards is important, particularly if you're a professional, but even if you're just a consumer and you want to understand exactly what you're buying, having a good handle on what those different HDR formats are. I know HDR 10 Plus has been getting some coverage lately as sort of an answer to Dolby Vision. So HDR 10 existed before, but Dolby Vision had a couple of performance advantages over it. However, Dolby Vision is, I think, relatively expensive for TV manufacturers to leverage. And so HDR 10 Plus is supposedly a step up from HDR 10 and a little bit more competitive with Dolby Vision. I think Samsung and Panasonic are two of the companies that are looking to leverage that 8K technology, Seth. I'm hearing more about this in the context of what is the big one in Berlin, IFA, I think, that's coming up.
Yeah, going on right now.
Yeah. And so we're hearing a lot about 8K out there, and I have to imagine we'll hear about some of that at CEDIA this year, and I'll be curious to see that. And then at a more manufacturer-specific level, Sony has their new flagship A9F and Z9F. That's one of those is an OLED, and the other's a really high-end LED. I forget which one is which, but definitely going to always make it a point to stop by Sony and see what they've got going on for display technology. Sony, LG, those are two of the big ones, and Samsung's doing great things as well. So stopping by the big three sort of TV manufacturers there is always fun to do, and definitely something that I will be making a priority this year.
Yep, absolutely. So 8K, geez, I can't.
I know.
It's going to break me. Projectors are moving up in the world too. They've got laser projectors out there. We've got a bunch of 4K. So I always like going to see, what new projectors have come out. And what's been blowing my mind every year is that like Epson has like not really a name that I grew up knowing in the custom install market. When you think Epson projectors, at least when I was around, like you think, oh, those are those things you buy at Office Depot, but they actually make some pretty good projectors. So
yeah,
I can't wait to see what they've come out with this year. I know there's a whole host of projection companies like Digital Projection and things that come in with these giant booths that you get to go in and see what the latest and greatest is. And I can't wait to check those out.
Yeah.
Those are usually pretty good demos in those.
Yeah, it's always fun to go into a couple of those rooms where they've got really high-end projection and really great sound. Dolby Atmos, immersive audio technology is another thing that hopefully I can find some time to go, and it's just fun. It's a great way to get off your feet, right, for 5 or 10 minutes at CEDIA, which is always nice, and enjoy some of that latest technology and see what's going on in the world of high-end cinema is always fun.
Yep. Speaking of cinema, this week we saw CEDIA purchase or take over the Cinema Designer. Looks like some software, I guess, that you use to put together a cinema. I've never actually heard of this, so it's kind of like surprising me a little bit. But now if you go to it, it says the CEDIA Designer.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting.
Interesting acquisition there. I'm not sure what the economics were and if that was a purchase of opportunity or what. I don't know a whole lot about Cinema Designer. Some chatter in the chat room here is a hostile takeover. Who knows? But I mean, I will say that for the home technology professionals out there who are part of CEDIA and who operate at the high end of the market and the luxury end of the market, presumably they will now have access to this Cinema Designer tool. And I've heard very little about it directly, but I do know anecdotally some people who use it and say that it's pretty simple and effective. So noteworthy acquisition for sure, as we're all still trying to figure out exactly what CEDIA's identity here is in the years to come. I thought this was an intriguing move.
Right, at the show that they don't even own anymore.
Yeah.
I'm curious if like this year, one of my predictions might be that I'll throw out here. It's like maybe this is the last year that they name it CEDIA, or I don't know. It seems like the name CEDIA going with the show is really getting confusing.
Right.
It's weird to have two companies own the same brand name. I don't know. Just to me, very strange. Maybe it'll be called something different next year. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Seth, let's shift gears here. I want to talk about, we've been talking about a little of the higher end stuff, and we'll wrap up talking about a little about the big control players. But Innovation Alley is always an area of the show floor that is fun to go spend some time and look around. And I think you've done a little bit of research there ahead of the show, figuring out who some of the players are going to be back in that area. So what are you seeing there in terms of Innovation Alley?
Well, I mean, we talked a little bit about them before, but there's a couple of there's definitely some interesting companies that I saw, some unique companies. Like there's Molecule, which if you listen to podcasts, you probably have heard them advertising on a number of podcasts. They'll be there doing their indoor air freshener. There are some again, there's some of those outdoor lighting companies that are popping up. A number of outdoor lighting companies that I saw. Only one of them is in Innovation Alley, but I think there's a couple of other ones that are throughout the show floor that you'll be able to see. I know of an integrator locally that has kind of taken it up and started doing more outdoor lighting, and he really loves doing it because it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of dumb. There's no computers involved, like outside at least. I mean, you basically turn them on and off, but getting the job done involves speccing the right lights and doing the right lighting design on the outside. And he's really started to enjoy that and pick it up. So I'm not surprised at all to start seeing outdoor lighting stuff start to show up. We've got a couple of software and marketing things that'll be over in Innovation Alley. And I think, the one of the more interesting one I think that we saw was that HouseCall Pro that we talked about earlier. I definitely want to go check that out. And Neo Pro, I want to go check those two out. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Like the rest of them, I'm just going to have to go see, put my hands on, check them out. one of the strangest ones that's there is that Danby Appliances. These are the guys that make dorm room refrigerators. So maybe they're going to show up with a connected kegerator. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah,
that
should be an interesting year this year.
Yeah. Flow Technologies we talked about just a minute ago. Cool product. So definitely look forward to stopping by and meeting those guys in person. Interesting. Going down the list here, I think you've kind of hit the big ones. A couple of like marketing companies back there.
Another cool one that came up like outside of CEDIA discussions was this MISA thermostat, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, this is a 2-wire thermostat. Anyway, it's an interesting thermostat. I'm pretty sure it's a 2-wire thermostat that's set up and made for like heating, like baseboards and that kind of thing. So that you don't come across that. That's usually a problem when you do come across it, and it's nice to have a connected solution now.
Right. Yeah. TV template. We talked about them last week. So the TV templates that you can use if you're trying to mock up different size TVs in a home, that's kind of an interesting one. Look forward to seeing those in person. And it's always good. Just go stop by Innovation Alley and talk to those companies. You talk to a lot of early stage, younger, scrappy companies who are trying to do new and interesting things. And so it's always a good way to spend a little bit of time while you're out there.
Yep, I will be hanging out there for sure.
Yeah.
It's one of the more fun places to go, I think, because you get to see kind of what people are trying out and trying to do, or bringing new things to the market, like this air freshener thing. And then there's cameras and different things like that. But that Bond home control system will be there too. So I kind of want to check that out and see what that's about.
Yeah, yep, definitely. Well, let's wrap up our conversation here with a quick touch on the big control players. Obviously, some of the mainstays there of CEDIA. I'm going to actually don't have it on our notes here, but lump in Lutron as a control player. I know we talked about lighting control, and they certainly fit more appropriately in there. But I do feel like we should mention Lutron, and this is an appropriate time to bring them up. Expect to see a lot from them. I know they're going to be doing a lot with lighting fixtures. But I always love seeing Lutron's booth. I think it's great to see what they're doing in terms of control from the very low end with SmartBridge Pro and last year Raw 2 Select was, I thought, one of the coolest products at CEDIA. Bridged a really nice gap. I think Lutron does a very masterful job typically at finding different price points and value points in the market and coming out with products that meet those and maintain differentiation, right? There's clear delineation between the different families of products and what makes them valuable. But there's something for everyone there, no matter what segment of the market you serve or what you're looking for in your home. Lutron does seem to have a solution. So thought we'd plug them in there because we did sort of gloss over them in the lighting control section, and no discussion about CEDIA would be complete without a mention of Lutron.
Yep. And no discussion of CEDIA would be, we'd have to mention Crestron, right? Because Crestron's not there again. Darn.
Crestron no show again. I don't know if we'll see that turn around. It's been an interesting trajectory there with Crestron and their relationship with residential. And I know John Clancy came in and really, I don't know John very, very well, but I do know him from a few conversations, and he's a passionate guy and believes very deeply in the residential market. And I know that he's working hard, and we're still hearing stories come out of Crestron in terms of what they're doing in the market. Greg Scott in the chat room is saying they're hosting a bunch of summits all over the U.S. next month, and I know that was part of the
story.
Probably
less expensive.
Yeah, well, exactly. That was kind of part of the story when they originally announced they weren't going to attend CEDIA. I think last year was the first year they didn't attend, and it was from a company perspective, they felt like they had a better use for those dollars where they could go around and do more of these localized shows. So no Crestron at CEDIA this year. We'll have to wait and see if they show up at CEDIA 2019, which is here in Denver.
Well, they haven't been sitting, on their laurels. They have been updating the product. The Ping product looks freaking amazing. If you ever it is improved so much. The videos that they released the other day, I was sent, people that I know were sending them to me saying, I wish we had this, for Control 4 or whatever. So it's like, they're definitely moving the product forward and along. It's just, unfortunately, we don't get to play with it or see it at CEDIA this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Control 4, we mentioned them earlier. I think the big theme that I've seen from them, the big trend that I always come away from Control4's booth with, is a solid commitment to the channel. I really think that it starts at the very top, Martin Pleen, the CEO, all the way down. Everybody there is very committed to the professional channel, and not in a way that is at all blind to the realities of how the market is evolving. And I think as a company, they're doing a good job at, similar to like what I said about Lutron, in terms of coming out with solutions at lower price points and still maintaining those higher end solutions for the jobs where those are appropriate. And so I expect to see Control4 just continuing that commitment to the channel. They've had acquisitions recently, fairly recently anyways, with I think it was Triad. I can't remember if that was between last CEDIA and now, or
I think that was last year.
Last year they was.
Yeah.
And they're continuing to do their thing. I'm not sure. We haven't heard a whole lot of news about what's going on with iHeiji. I'll be curious to know if they're talking at all about that. I know they purchased iHeiji, and the plan is to merge that platform with Backpack, but we don't really have any idea of dates on that. And as somebody who personally pays a lot of attention to that remote monitoring, remote troubleshooting space, I'll be curious to see if I can glean any information, even if I have to read between the lines a little bit there.
Right. Yeah. And I unfortunately, I mean, it's kind of tough to tell. Control4 is such a big company now. It used to be just a handful of controllers, some remotes, and amplifiers. Like we could pretty much predict when they were going to come out with a new product and kind of what it was. But now they're making it a little more tough because they have like a full product line of speakers and amplifiers from Triad. Then they have, like you said, they move over to iHeiji for the software stuff for remote monitoring. They have networking gear from PackEdge. And then they have their full line of products for automation and lighting control. So it's kind of tough for me to like say, what could they be doing this year? Because a lot of it they could expand on with software and wow us that way, with some new software experiences. But hardware wise, I mean, it's tough for me to say what they could be updating this year, because they actually, like last week, maybe the week before, they updated all of their controllers. So they have new hardware in their controllers that's a little bit faster. They've got different disks basically inside, like SSDs put inside of them. So they did like a not so much a new controller, but like a spec bump on the controller, right? And that's really cool. But like they didn't save it for CEDIA. Like it's shipping now. Like you can put an order in the next day and had one in your hands. As soon as FedEx showed up with it. So I'm not too sure what they're going to do. One thing that we know and we mentioned before was that Apple announced that Savant and Crestron and Control4 would have integrations with HomeKit. And out of those three companies, Control4 is the only company that doesn't have a microphone anywhere near their product, especially built into their remote. So I'm very curious to see if Control4 releases a new remote this year and if it has a microphone built into it. And that kind of like leads us down the path of integrating with HomeKit. Their touchscreens are a little long in the tooth. I wouldn't mind seeing those updated. Those are pretty hideous and could be updated with, big fanfare. So I think that they have some low-hanging fruit they can get rid of, and then like reaching out and saying, commitment to the channel, they definitely do that, but like reaching out and saying, well, what products are they gonna ship this year? It's getting tough. It's getting tough to say because they have such a large company now. It's bigger than it used to be.
Yeah.
You know what else they could do? They could do something with video, because they bought Leaf and they have the Leaf HD base T, HDMI over base T type thing. They could do something with the video line, and I maybe with the video over IP or HD over IP or MOIP. So it's a hairball or something that got caught in my throat. They could do something like that and get their dealers excited about it. So really, we'll be curious to see what they come out with.
Yep. Yeah, I think the other two players that we haven't touched on there in terms of control are Savant and Elan. And I think Elan is a company that I admittedly don't have a lot of personal experience with, but I know that they're continuing to gain momentum. I hear more and more people talking about them and using them. And then Savant, of course, continuing to do their thing. I don't know exactly what to expect out of Savant this year. I was scanning through their website here as you were talking and seeing, what's kind of been the latest in the news. I feel like I've seen some stories come across from them here and there, but haven't seen a ton of development. I know that they're the one thing I do remember is a sort of a cloud management, cloud support portal that they're coming out with here, and I think they've been working on that for quite a while, but making some progress. So not totally sure what to expect out of Savant or Elan specifically, but again, I think what comes to my mind always when I hear about Elan is they seem to be gaining momentum, and the people that I have spoken with that use them seem to say really great things about them.
Yeah, and they're part of Nortech. So it's like if you take a step back and look at Nortech and see who all is involved with Nortech, like it's just a massive company. And I think they'll probably be showing off. I think they have like a 2 gig integration, which they're the first ones to do any integration with 2 gig. So we'll probably see that this year. Another big one, Jason, it's not on our list, but I kind of snuck it in on the bottom there, is URC. And you kind of forget about those guys, but they've got their total control platform. And I usually see pretty good stuff out of that. So there's definitely fans of all of these control platforms that we've mentioned. And I think each one of them has their strong points and their weak points, but they all somehow complement each other at the show.
Right. Yeah. I think that like you said, all of these have all of these have fans and different people who use them and serve different segments of the market, and it'll be interesting to see what they're all doing. Like I said, I think Control 4 is doing. They've been the most sort of prevalent in the news, but it's there's a lot going on in the world of control, and so it'll be a lot of fun to spend some time seeing what all of these guys are up to.
Yep. Well, there is only one thing left to do, Jason, and that's let's go to CEDIA. So
yeah, that's right.
I think we need to wrap up the show and probably head out there. I am super excited about hopping on a plane early in the morning and flying out. I should be there. You're probably there all week. I'm flying in late Tuesday, so really Wednesday through Saturday I'll be there.
Yep, I get in on Tuesday morning, and I'll be there doing the workshops early in the week, and then hanging out. And I'm one of the lucky 2 in our company who gets to stay through Saturday and help break down the booth. So thrilled about that.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to fly back to the East Coast, and one of my colleagues, Ian, and I only have to fly. He flies to Austin, and I fly to Denver. So because we have shorter trips home, we're the lucky couple that get to stay behind and break down the booth.
That's not how the short straw game works.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw that.
It was
out
news
there.
to me. It was news to me. But I'm a team player.
Yeah, this should be a fun show. Definitely looking forward to HomeTech, the HomeTech Happy Hour. I know, Jason, you said you had something that you were excited about that's not tech related. What was that?
Oh yeah, no, I was teasing a little bit, having some fun. I found out from my colleague, same one who lives in Austin, actually, that there is a very, very good craft brewery nearby where we're staying, and they brew a very good hazy IPA. I don't know if you've heard of these. It is kind of the new trendy thing in beer. Also called New England IPAs or Juicy IPAs, a couple other names that they go by. And so I've been very into these. It's been kind of my craft beer of choice, and looking forward to checking that out. I'm going to find the name right now. Modern Times Brewery.
Oh, yeah. We will be there. And my boss is a huge fan of Modern Times, and we are actually, he's got the hookup there, so you need to come hang out with us.
All right, cool. I'm in. Modern Times and Critical Band is the name of the beer that I'm looking forward to trying out, if you're curious to learn more about that style.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to grab some Modern Times and go on our Bixby hunt at CEDIA this year and see what we come up with. So, Jason, I will see you next week, right?
Yeah, it sounds great. Let's wrap it up very quickly. Before we do, we want to send a very quick thank you to everybody who listens to the show. If you're interested in supporting our efforts and helping us produce more shows like this one, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm HomeTech.fm/support, where you can support our efforts here at the podcast for as little as $1 a month. So we would appreciate that. Seth, like you said, getting really excited to head out there, and I look forward to seeing you out in San Diego next week. And everybody listening, really look forward to connecting at the HomeTech Happy Hour. And like I said, I should be pretty easy to find there on the show floor. If you stop by the One Vision booth and want to say hi, I would absolutely love that. So definitely look forward to that as well.
Yep, sounds good. And I know it's getting late, Jason, so let's get off the phone. Thanks everybody for listening tonight, and we'll see you next week at the HomeTech Happy Hour.
All right. Thanks, everyone.